Hi, and welcome to the Day One Podcast. My name is Simon Moran, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Peter Johnson, the CEO of Phat Scooters here in Arizona. So, Peter, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, to start off, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and a little bit about how that influenced where you are today.
Yeah, I actually was born here in Arizona, in Mesa, and then when I was 9, parents moved us out to Guam. I grew up out there the rest of my life until I got recruited to swim at U of A and then moved up to Phoenix after college.
Cool. So when you were at school, what was the draw to jump in the pool and kind of do the swimming thing, and how did you end up excelling at that?
I started swimming when I was 5, and then competitively about 7 years old, and just stuck with me. My parents, it was something that I was really good at. Played all the other sports, but swimming was really what I excelled at, and got me that into school and really developed me into who I am today. I think being an athlete at a high level really gives you something that a lot of other people don't have. I mean, especially in the swimming world, 2-a-days starting when you're
grueling as far as the workouts and stuff like that.
It's a lot to do.
Now, in high school, then, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do, or was it all focused solely on swimming? Did you have any idea what you wanted to do professionally outside of that?
I did. I'd always loved the sports and medicine, so I was going to go into sports medicine. I actually started pre-med when I was in college. That lasted a semester, or actually my freshman year, and then I figured that was not what I wanted to do.
Right. So growing up, did you have any mentors or anything like that you looked to that was really your inspiration behind what you're doing today?
You've always had athletes in your sport that when you were younger, you looked up to. I think, in my era, everybody looked up to Jordan. He was a big one. Barkley. I was always a big basketball fan. In swimming, it was Tom Dolan, it was Gary Hall, and Alexander Popov were some of the big names. But professionally, I've always been in business with my dad since 2003. He's always been a mentor for me, and so that would be who I would point to.
Cool. So your experience at U of A, tell us a little bit about what that was like, and maybe what you majored in, and how that brought you to where you are.
Yeah. So after I got my gen eds out of the way, I kind of went into deciphering whether I was going to be business or not, and decided on comm as my major with a business admin minor. And that was, I really enjoyed the communication classes. I'm big into networking and business development, and I think that was a big portion. I still had the accounting classes and some of the business classes on that side, but the main focus was more on the comm side, and I think that's really helped me today to get where I am.
And we have a lot of younger viewers too that are trying to go down that path of starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur. What is your opinion when it comes to going to college and getting a college degree, and how that may benefit or detract from going down the career path of being an entrepreneur?
Sure. Education's always important, but there's lots of classes, lots of filler classes, and I think it's not necessarily the classes. I mean, if you go pre-med, you've got to know the science, you've got to know those things. But with business, you've got to have the accounting backgrounds, you've got to have some of those classes, but what you retain after high school and college is less than 10% of what you learned in those classes. What you do achieve by going to there is learning real life, being on your own, and developing those life skills is what college is about, aside from just the academics.
Right.
You learn how to negotiate your grade. You learn how to negotiate, if you need to retake the test, do things, and then time management, how to do your laundry.
Right.
Pay for your own food, do those things, manage your money. Those are really critical skills. And then you also develop, for me, that's the start of, a lot of people don't have, at 40 years old, they don't have many of their high school friends, middle school. They start to phase out. Really, the relationships that you're going to retain for the rest of your life are the college relationships that you made, friendships. And as you get older, those people are starting their own businesses,
right,
and you're starting to network and create that your core that you're going to retain for the rest of your life.
Now, were you working in high school or through college at all, or what was that first experience, either working for someone or with someone?
So in high school, I started my own yard business when I was 10. Maintained that through really till I came to college, so I had, I was making $1,500 a month, which is a lot of money for a kid. But I was doing that on top of swimming. So my Saturdays,
So you were a
Fridays
busy
after,
kid, yeah.
were Saturdays were involved, swimming and doing yards, and that. My dad had a construction business, so I'd work for him on the weekends sometimes if he needed help. But then coming into college, we didn't. Swimming took up all of our time, so I didn't have a job per se in college. It was swimming, and then afterwards, I went to work for an auto glass company. That really taught me. That threw me in the fire on cold calling and
Right,
doing
yeah.
stuff like that. So that was a good thing. And I also worked as a server at Chili's for about 6 months.
Sure.
And I think everybody should be a waiter at one point
Get that experience
in their
yeah.
life and do something that's involved with sales or cold calling to get your feet wet.
Especially if you want to go into that, entrepreneurship role, because if you can't sell your product, then, where are you at, right?
Always find something that's getting you outside of your comfort zone to try and develop further
Sure.
I think is a good thing.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to go down this path and work for yourself and build a company?
After the auto glass, I came up to Phoenix. My dad had a custom cabinet business. They'd moved back from Guam, and I came up to work for him doing sales. Didn't know much about cabinetry, anything like that. Been in the construction business growing up, but wasn't sure how construction, the sales, the design, all of that. And I just kind of got thrown in, and my dad would shadow me, help me, give me advice. But I really just was kind of on my own for a while and just figuring it out for myself, going around and calling on general contractors, trying to get plans to bid on. And
Right.
we took that business from when I came in, I think it was about a $600,000 a year business, and we took it up to almost $5 million.
Wow.
In a couple of years.
So what would you say throughout this journey has been maybe one of the toughest things that you've experienced when it comes to running a business that our viewers should know about?
Hiring's always tough. Getting the right people. There's a book called Good to Great, and it's about getting the right people on the bus before you drive the bus out of the
Sure.
out of the parking space. And that's really true in any business. And it's hard when you've never started a business before and you don't have relationships. You don't know how you're going to work with people, who you're going to need to help out. And then capital is always tough, right? You don't have the capital to hire the big talent that
Right.
might be already experienced. So you hire part-time, you do independent contractors, you hire them for a couple hours a week, whatever you can afford.
Sure.
To try and do that. But it really is trying to manage people, and especially as you grow, trying to manage the internal workforce is probably one of the toughest things when you're starting out.
Right.
Partnerships, getting the things done up front, making sure you have your contract, your partnership agreements, making sure those things are inked down before, a lot of people just want to get out and they want to go.
Right.
And then it's much harder to go back and to do that stuff after the fact than it is right up front.
Right.
Because people don't remember things,
Sure.
the right way, they're wrong impression, or then you're very successful and all of a sudden they want more.
Yeah.
So it can really
Yeah.
create a lot of havoc. So getting things done up front is really critical to do, I think, and has always been kind of the toughest thing. And as we grow, I think, contracts used to be 2 pages. Now they're 100. It's really hard to read those things because of just how things have evolved in our society. Coffee being too hot and spilled on, and they get
Right.
sued, and so now that's another thing that we add into a paragraph.
Sure.
Disclaimer. But I think the experience that I've garnered over the multiple businesses that I've been involved in and had and gone through lawsuits, gone through depositions has really, and the failure of businesses going through a recession and losing, two businesses has really taught me what did I do wrong in those, what would I do differently, and failing forward. I don't regret anything that we've done, because it's taught me what not to do in the future.
Definitely.
And how to be better.
Now, Phat Scooters was founded in 2017. Tell us a little bit about what inspired the idea and how it started to grow so rapidly.
Sure. So there's three founding members, Dan, Bo, and myself. Dan's an anesthesiologist. We all live in the Arcadia area, central Phoenix corridor. And Dan called me over one day and said, "Hey, I just bought these two electric scooters, and come check them out." They were being delivered, so I ran over to his house and saw these things pull up, and I was like, "Wow, those are pretty cool."
Yeah.
Jumped on, we went for a ride, and immediately I was just in love. And we had people asking where they got them, everything else. So after Dan and I talked, I said, "I'm going to call my business partner Bo. If he has the same reaction I did, I know we've got something."
Yeah.
And I always go do a lot of research before I jump into something. You have that gut feeling, but you always want to be smart about it and see, okay, how many other people is it a viable market? Is it saturated? And found nobody was doing this stuff, but you could already see the trends of electric vehicles kind of starting to hit. Bird wasn't out at that time yet. Yeah. It was still the rideshare bicycles. But it was a great way to get around. It was super fun. They looked cool, but there was a lot of issues with the ones that he had gotten originally. And so Bo had the same reaction I did, and I said, "All right, we got something, Dan. Let's create a company.
Sure.
We'll go over to China. We'll find a manufacturer that can do this for us. We need to redesign some of the stuff to fit the U.S. market and be better with motor power, battery, just overall design and safety for the U.S. market with speeds." We did it. We brought 400 units over in July. So we started the company February of 17. First product hit July of 17. We had a small little warehouse, and we were out fulfilling scooters in 115 degree heat because our warehouse was too small.
Yeah.
And, so it was an interesting start, but they flew off the shelf, and we knew we were going to keep going, and it's just evolved.
Now, you mentioned Bird, and there's the Lime scooters and things like that, and that really the wave came after you guys started Phat Scooters and stuff like that. So seeing that that's the direction that people are going, this electric transport, maybe single person transport that is within a certain radius that people are going, where do you see the evolution of electric travel going when it comes to your guys' company?
Yeah, so I think one of the terms that everybody's starting to use is this last mile transportation, and that's really where our scooters, we're actually bigger than the last mile, but that's kind of where people are looking at. People aren't riding our scooters 50 miles, or from Phoenix down to Tucson.
Right.
It really is that small radius. Get to the grocery store, get down the canal, get to the golf course, do deliveries. But I think that's where everything is evolving. You've got Amazon, Uber Eats. You have these kick scooters that spin, Uber, Lyft. All of these guys are getting into that marketplace on the rideshare side. So it's going to be really interesting. I think the cities are blindsided and really trying to catch up on where this market's going. Where are they going to park them? I mean, we have golf courses now that people are showing up with these things. They're like, okay, well, where do we park them?
Right.
And they're creating custom parking lots for this space.
Cool.
So it's going to be interesting, but that's where I see a lot of this. We did a restaurant show in Chicago, and we had, a huge amount of interest from pizza delivery places, food, PF Chang's, companies like that, all looking to get into the delivery. But with vehicles, you can't have 10 cars that are dedicated for delivery. It takes up a lot of parking space.
Right.
It's expensive, the gas, the insurance, the liability, everything that goes along with that. So this space where we've got are considered kind of an e-bike, where you don't need a license registration in most states, really opens up a whole new category and way for people to efficiently do deliveries for that rapidly growing market.
Now, one of the evolutions you guys have had from just the original scooter is into golf, like you mentioned. Tell us a little bit about where you see the direction of that going and the huge upsides that people are seeing using these types of vehicles while golfing.
Yeah, it's been interesting. The single rider golf market is another starting to be a rapid growth industry, and there was it's been a market for the last 6 years, but you've really seen more people jump into it, like a Sun Mountain, legitimate golf companies that are jumping into that category because they've now seen that it's a valid space. And I think with the decline of golf, which it's been on the decline, you have younger generations coming in, and they're not necessarily excited about going out to the golf course and spending 5 or 6 hours playing around on Saturday. This speeds up at the pace of play. It's fun and exciting. It's kind of new. You can play a 3-hour round no problem with 4 of your buddies and be terrible golfers because you can all go to your own ball.
Right.
It's also less wear and tear on the golf course. So there's a lot of advantages for a golf course bringing these units on to supplement the golf cart. And it's easy to, ours is one of the most easy units to ride out there. It's the most versatile and easy. And it's increasing revenue generation for the course because they can charge another $20-$25 for taking this out above the cart fee, and people will pay it.
Yeah.
They just said they have fun.
So wrapping up here, tell us a little bit about what the next 5 to 10 years looks like for Phat Scooters and some of the models that you guys are trying to create when it comes to the different scooters you guys have.
Sure. Well, we're in the middle of, opening up our own manufacturing plant down in Mexico, controlling our manufacturing, which is a big step for us. We're kind of moving into being a complete EV electric vehicle manufacturer, and being in a space where we can manufacture anything from our motor to our battery to the frame. We'll control all of it and be doing that in-house, which is exciting. And we're constantly trying to develop and innovate models. So we have our flex unit, but we'll be expanding. We have something coming out early 2020, which will be the Lil Fatty. And we try and create versatile vehicles that you can use on college campus, you can take on your boat, on your plane, different things that really that are all electric, that create that last mile transportation to get around.
And one last piece of advice for the listeners, what would you tell them is one of the key things that you do on a daily basis that just maybe separates you when it comes to business, or what's something that you focus on every day that you make sure you execute on when it comes to business?
Having focusing in the morning, like when I first get up, I'll be laying in bed, and I get up early, and I've got a 5-year-old, and I'll just lay in bed next to my wife, and she's asleep, and I just try and hammer out. I look at emails. I try not to do stuff right before I go to bed, because if you get an email that is annoying or
the mind starts racing.
Your mind starts racing. It's hard to get to sleep. So I try and shut down and just eliminate that, and wake up fresh in the morning. Try and knock out as much stuff as I can before I get in, because I know once I get in the office, I get bombarded by people asking questions, and I don't have the time to sit, in front of my computer and hammer out emails. So I try and do as much of that stuff as I can in the morning, first thing. And then when I get to the office, I just really try and contact with everybody and have little stand-up, pop-up meetings, rather than getting in a big conference room and spending, 2 hours in a big corporate meeting with everybody.
Right.
We do that once a week so that everybody's knows, and I think that's critical. You have to have a weekly meeting, but throughout the week you need to have constant touches with everybody to just see what's going on.
Sure.
So,
and for the listeners, what's the best way to place an order for a Phat Scooter or to connect online socially with you guys? Yeah,
so our instant Facebook handlers at Phat Scoot, PHAT Scoot, and then it's just phatscooters.com, PHAT again. They can go on, place orders. They can contact us, email us. We have people live almost 24/7 that they can get a hold of via customer service and placing an order, or come down to our warehouse in Tempe, take a test ride, come check out our event space, and we'd love to have you.
Cool. Well, Peter Johnson, CEO of the Phat Scooters here in Arizona, thank you for joining us on the Day One Podcast. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.